Welcome, Comadres and friends. I am Tess Tobin, Project Manager of Las Comadres National Latino Book Club. The leadership team is pleased to have you join us for tonight's teleconference as we are in our 19th year. It has been our privilege to support Latino authors throughout these 19 years, and we look forward to many more years to come. We'd also like to extend a warm welcome to readers following us on our live Twitter chat at Read Latino Lit. Tonight, please help us welcome authors Fernando A. Flores and Veronica Chapa. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping rules. Please keep yourselves on mute. You can keep your videos on, but we do suggest you put yourself on speaker mode, but gallery works just as well. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat and we will try to get to them. Let's now start with the book club's history. Comadre Nidia.
Thank you, Comadre Tess. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas, comadres and friends. Mi nombre es Nidia Marcella, and I'm the book club membership coordinator. Our book club began in July 2004 in the apartment of our dear Maria Ferrer here in New York. But after a brief pause, Nora Comstock reimagined and relaunched the organization nationwide. Her vision was to promote Latino authors, bring our community into bookstores, and support our writers. In October of 2006, we began hosting teleconferences, and now, in our 19th year, we continue to share works by Latino authors with book lovers everywhere. Our book club and teleconferences are designed to encourage everyone, not just Latinos, to read more Latina literature, explore diverse cultural perspective, and gain deeper insight into Latino roots and heritage. We are creating a space where readers can explore the rich inner worlds of Latino writers through their written work. We currently have book clubs in 12 cities across different time zones. We invite you to join a local chapter that fits your schedule. If your city isn't represented, we welcome your help in starting a new club. For more information, visit our website at latinolit.com. I will put that in the chat. So please spread the word and invite others to join our literary community. Okay, Comadre Karen, take it away.
Welcome, comadres and friends, to our July 2025 Zoom teleconference. I'm Karen Gonzalez, Assistant Coordinator for the Las Comadres and Friends Book Club, Denver Comadres Book Club Facilitator and co-founder of the Colorado Alliance of Latino Mentors and Authors. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our first interview is with Fernando A. Flores, a Mexican-American author. His works include the novel Tears of the Truffle Pig, which was longlisted for the Center for Fiction First Novel Prize, and the short story collections Death to the Bullshit Artists of South Texas, Volume 1, Death to the Bullshit Artists of South Texas, and Valley-esque. Flores enjoys finding the weird in a piece of work. He is fascinated by the bizarre, which is a reflection of his artistic work. All his published books embrace and embody psychedelic literature. In 2025, he published his fourth novel, Brother Bronte. Interviewing Fernando is Comadre Dora Maria Abreu, a pioneer as a Latin American woman in technology leadership. Dora is an amplifier of diverse voices, catalyst and connector, and tribe builder. Her extensive experience in technology, training, product leadership, development, web design, social media, and project management in the financial, educational, and engineering sectors has opened doors for other women of color in the field. She is an award-winning author of the bilingual children's book, You Are Beautiful, Tu Eres Una Belleza, which has been translated into multiple languages. Take it away, Comadre Dora.
Thank you so much, Karen, and welcome everyone, especially Fernando. Fernando, oh my goodness. Sure. I literally had visions of George.
Oh no. Oh no, what happened?
Oh, are you still on? This
Am I
meeting.
gone? Or it's Dora, right? Who's gone?
Okay,
Yeah.
Dora,
Dora,
Oh no,
she
I
got
hope
knocked
don't
off.
worry, Fernando. I think we're good. Just don't worry.
it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
I'm in Albuquerque and we're having storm floods.
Oh yeah, I wonder where Dora is located. Do y'all know?
She's in Oregon.
Oh,
Wow,
What happened to Dora?
maybe
No,
Dora.
she's back.
I'm back on my phone. That's why it's good to have a backup.
Okay, great. Okay,
Great.
welcome
Awesome.
everyone again. Okay, good.
Bueno, Fernando, welcome again.
Thank
And
you, Dora.
I was really curious as to what what really influenced you to come down this channel. Like, I think you should live in Portland. Like here, there's a slogan, stay weird. But you get all of this and you love it. So what influenced you in that space for writing these books?
I'm not sure if there's like a one thing, maybe like a variety of experiences. I think that maybe perhaps culminated like after my first novel was published, Tears of the Tropic in 2019. That book dealt with the border, and when I was writing that and during the process of like publishing it, I felt that I was stuck with this like ultra male world. I realized that if I was gonna be honest about telling that story and writing that novel, that I had to really confront the reality that I was dealing with a world that had been destroyed by men. That men and the men in this book are dealing with a destroyed world. But in this book also, what I realized after I finished reading it, that the women in this book, in Tears of the Truffle, my first novel, uh, while the men are dealing with this book, with this world that they destroyed, the women are busy building a new world out of this destroyed world. But when I finished writing Tears of the Truffle, when it was done, I felt that wasn't really fully explored in that book, that whole thing. I felt that I don't want to say that I failed at it because that wasn't part of, there was no room for it in that book. But I felt that me as a writer, I didn't fully get to explore those themes. So, in order to get away from that world of that first novel, I found harbor in writing this book. And eventually I was stuck with it, or not stuck with it, but I just had to figure it out. And I realized this is my next book. And I realized that because of those themes, those two different themes, I realized that it's like the sister novel of that first novel, and that they kind of have this conversation with each other because of these reasons. I don't know. I hope that answered something.
Yeah, no, that's good. And then why the title Brother Bronte? Why that title?
Okay, well, one of the things I wanted that I guess drove me about this book or writing it was having the title. I wanted the title of the book to be the title of the fake book within the book. I really wanted the title to be almost like a fake title. And I wanted the reader to kind of discover this in the process of reading that, oh, the Brother Bronte is the book that exists in this book, in this world. And I was just interested in it. I knew that eventually I had to confront the book itself, Brother Bronte, how it deals with this reality within my novel. And I just felt that there was something perhaps worth grappling with all these themes in there. And that's what kind of drove me. That's what drove me in the process. Even if I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know how I was going forward. I knew that I had this book within the book, and this author who wrote this book in this book. So I don't know, these complex things, figuring them out, that's what it's all about, to grapple with the material, I felt change afterwards because of this, because of the grappling, because of the effort. I don't know if effort, but the struggle, So I don't know.
Okay. And so also in starting the book where you did, right? Did you think about maybe like, hey, maybe I should have started this book in a scene earlier? What got you to start it where you started?
Like, why does the book open where it does? Like, as
Yeah.
any other place?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like there's a few moments in this book where the main character has like a vision of somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted that to happen in the opening. I wanted her to have a vision of an artist, of somebody, like who was it, and I had to really figure out like does she have a vision of, what is this, so I like that idea of it, and I wanted it to happen after, something kind of traumatic happens to her, which is that the authorities kind of like ransack her house and destroy the remaining books that she owns. But I don't really have a reason why. To me, I was like, it's almost like the way she had the vision in that first scene. It's almost like that's how the scene comes to me. It comes to me like a vision. I don't know. I have to figure it out. What is this? Who is this person? What is this world? So I don't really have a why or a technical idea. I'm not like, I really envy writers who are like outliners, who can really
Mm-hmm.
plan things, who are like, this is how my book is gonna go. Because to be honest, like when this novel, to Brother Bronte, it was sold in 2020. That's 5 years ago. And it was sold on with a two-book deal. My first Valley-esque, my short story collection was going to come out first. It came out in 2022. So when this book sold, I had like a third of it written, if that, or maybe even like one-fifth or one-fourth of it written. So in order to accomplish that, I had to outline the novel. I wrote an entire outline for the first time in my life, and I submitted it, and then the book was sold, outlining what was going to happen and at the rest of the book. And after I finished writing it, I visited the outline, I saw it, and nothing that I wrote in that outline is in here at all. Nothing at all. If I would have followed that outline, I think it would have been like I think the book would have suffered for it if I would have followed that outline. So I'm like, I don't know, I have to trust my instincts. Like, what is writing? I always grapple with these things, like beyond selling a book, beyond saying that you're an author or whatever, beyond all these things, what is storytelling? What is fiction writing? What is the function of it for our society, especially today? I really grapple with all these things, and if I can't, and it's not that I can't answer. I think that if I had a direct answer for what it was, I don't think that I would write the book. I think the book is me searching for these answers. And it's never going to be like a sentence. Like the meaning of life, what could the meaning of life be? Well, if anybody ever discovers like the meaning of life, I doubt it's just gonna be like a sentence, a thing. It'll be like an experience. Maybe. It'll be like an
Yeah.
experience, like food poisoning or something. Something like that. So
No, like I thought it was intentional that you wanted to get the reader to be curious, because you get curious. You're like, okay, into it. And so, and the flashbacks and even talking about some of the past, you did that really well. So I'm like, man, he could have started this at any point as well. But I appreciate where it started, because it really seals that you wanting to root for this character. As the story progresses, you're like still rooting for this person, but you don't even know if this person is a bad person or a good person. You just know that they were wronged in the beginning, so you're already ready to fight for them as you go through. So
yeah,
so yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm grateful for that, but I'm like, okay. Well, I'm like, maybe me as a writer, like, if it interests me as a writer in writing it, I guess you would hope, believe that the energy transfer the writing process. Like, I write everything in a typewriter, so this novel is written in a typewriter.
Yeah.
So I really do believe that the energy that happens right there, and the in the writing.
I think they said they were having storms in that area, so I don't know if that's affected his.
Okay, I thought it was me again.
Oh, there he is. No, it's not raining or storming in Austin.
Okay, very good.
I'm back. What happened? What happened?
This time it wasn't me.
What did I miss? What did I miss?
We missed the
Okay,
last part of what you were
but
saying.
pretty much that, but pretty much that. Like, there's no, like, I don't know. There's no I don't think there's no formula ever. It's always like, I think that if you had a formula, like, why write? Like, I don't know. Like, everybody writes for different reasons, and everybody has different methods. And like I said, I can be really. I can really like writers who are authors and who do this. I'm like, dang, I don't know, like, so I don't, because I don't have the ability to do that. I can write a certain way, but not like that. I don't know.
I got the feeling like this was a Latino version of like George Orwell, right? George Orwell was talking about the future, and like he wrote about it. And as I read that book, I feel like, wow, like this book has some parallels to that, like futuristic, like, but still dealing with the issues we have at hand, right? Like, you know, the books getting, like, some books are getting like blacklisted here in currently, like we're living that. We haven't seen them totally get banned, but we see them getting banned, right, or blacklisted. And then the situation with immigration as well, right? So those are real issues, and it was interesting to see those in a futuristic sense, right?
Yeah, thank you. Like, I don't know, like, I don't think I ever have an agenda. I'm not like, I don't really think that I'm trying to, I don't know. I never think, I don't ever have agenda when I'm writing, because I think that if I'm going to start writing and I have an agenda, I think it's going to fall apart.
Okay.
I think that if things exist in it, it's because I exist in that world, in this world with all
Yeah.
these traumas and all these things going on.
Yeah.
And I feel that me as a writer, I have to collaborate. I have to collaborate with these things. Like, why do these things exist? Why is nature out here, dying? I have to kind of collaborate, ask these questions, and even if I don't have a direct answer, I have to kind of grapple with it in my narrative in some kind of way. Otherwise, why write? At least for me, like, why write? Writing is such a long process. It can be painful. It can be a lot of things. It can separate you from people you love. It can separate you from things, So why do it if we only have one life to live? So if I'm not grappling with these difficult subjects and difficult questions, then it's not worth it for me.
Yeah.
So,
Did you want it to be like a sci-fi-ish book? Was
you
that an
know,
intention there?
It's funny because I'm a bookseller, and these terms
Mhm.
like sci-fi and stuff, like, as a bookseller, I like them. I'm like, okay, these terms are necessary because we need to be able to describe what things are in this bookstore environment, okay? But when I'm writing, I'm never like, I'm gonna write something weird. I'm gonna write a sci-fi. Because in the end, I don't believe in being weird for the sake of being weird.
Mhm.
if there's something strange or something futuristic in the material, it is there in the end to serve human emotion, to serve the core human emotion. Because otherwise, why? Otherwise it's too painful, you know? If you're not trying to connect with the humanity of things, then what are we doing? You might as well let AI do it, you know? If you're not connecting to the core of human pain, of human glory, you know? So yeah, so I don't know. These are things that also that I've got to say that you never, like, from book to book, you never get
Mhm.
better at it, you know? From book to book, it never gets easier or harder. It's a different struggle every time. It's like,
Okay.
okay, just because this book is done, I'm like, what are the struggles of the next book? What are the themes? What are the, I don't know, where's the chaos, you know? So,
All right. Would you consider having a sequel to this book?
you know, my first novel got optioned to be made into a movie, and it's been that option has been renewed every 18 months since 2019. All right. So, and I've had various conversations with these people, you know. At first they wanted to make it into like a series. And they were like gonna be like, okay, well, the first season of the series is gonna be the book. And if they renew it, they're gonna do something, they'll do something beyond the book. And I was like, if you feel that you have an idea for it, if you feel that this book that you can keep this world going and these characters going, you have my blessing to do it. Do it, all right? I myself, I'm done with it. I feel that I'm done with it. If it's gonna exist, keep existing, I'm okay with it existing like in a cinematic world, and you all can, by you all, I mean this writers group, I mean this writers room, I guess. So that's how I got to the point where I was at peace with it, where I was at peace with that. And then this is before they had a script, but then they changed their mind. They realized they wanted to make it into a feature-length film. They wrote the script. So I'm like, okay, if they still, I think they still have the rights, even if they make the movie, and they could make a series if they wanted to, and I'm okay with it. But I am done with it. If it inspires somebody's imagination to keep it going, fine. All right, you know.
All right. And my last question is, what relationships were inspired by real life relationships from the book? Because I almost felt like some of the relationships could have been something you saw or experienced in your own circle, just because of the closeness and just the way that they looked out for one another type of relationships. And just the way that the thought process was about people, like, oh, this person's like this or this person's like that. And it just reminded me, like, when I was growing up, I was like, man, I always was thinking things outside the box too on the different characters that we ran into. So I was wondering, did you have that influence and that's how you like put that in the book in that way? Or
Yeah.
it was just total, that's where your mind went with it?
You know, perhaps, you know, like I don't write autobiographical fiction,
Mm-hmm.
but I do, but sometimes I don't know, like I read something like about like I think Shakespeare a long time
Mm-hmm.
ago. No, what is it? There's a scene in Ulysses by James Joyce, the whole library scene. I don't know which chapter it is, but in that library scene, there's the characters that are discussing William Shakespeare,
Mm-hmm.
talk about Shakespeare, how he write about all these people that are usually these big kings, these big figures. And Shakespeare himself was obviously nothing like that. He was kind of like a poor guy who kind of hustled his whole life, who never really made a lot of money, even off his plays. So, but they in that scene, I think they discussed that Shakespeare would insert himself as minor characters here and there in his work, you know, or like things like that. And I'm like, okay, I see it like in my own work. I see kind of like, even though like I'm not in it or people, and sometimes something I hear somebody say, sometimes something my grandfather says appears somewhere, or like my mother once told me, somebody says it, like all these things within the family, or like somebody does something that a girlfriend I once had once did, or something like that, little autobiographical things that do appear here and there, maybe like disguised here and there. But also, I think these little things are what make it, I don't know, special, real. They add life to it, they breathe some kind of something in it. Even if it's not directly, it doesn't need to be directly like 100% like I'm gonna base this person off of this person and that needs to be that person. I'm like, no, I'm okay with just like a subtle gesture, or the way a person says a certain sentence, the way a sentence unrolls from a character, the way something is phrased that is like unique to a certain person. Like these are the kind of things I think that, I don't know, that add to your world and make it like you. I don't know that, and I think that add comfort in some kind of way, especially since, like I say, I don't write like autobiographical fiction.
Yeah, your use of language, right? Like piojoso, things like that. Like we're very family oriented type of things. And I'm like, this was intentional. Like, there's always something that hangs in our families, and we say it, and even though we're, I want to say bilingual, but it's more like English, Spanish, and Spanglish that we
Yeah,
speak. But
yeah,
your introduction of that is what makes it like relationship wise for me, right? Because I wouldn't necessarily use that language formally with other friends, right? But if it's in a group of friends, like I have 4 friends that we were all Dominican, so any slang I used in Dominican, like they got it because they knew what it was, right? So it's
yeah,
familiar.
yeah.
And so that's, yeah.
Thank you. No, like I don't know. This is like, and that's what's fascinating to me. With the way people say things. I like slang. I like inventing slang. My editors are very, very understanding, and by now they kind of like let me do kind of what I want. But there's words in this book that I made up, and every one of my books, like even like Valley-esque is a word that I made that I had never seen before, but I wanted kind of like a made up word to be the title of my book. I don't know.
Okay.
I feel very grateful and lucky to be working not only like with my editorial people and stuff, but also like to engage with readers such as y'all and everything, people who are open to these kinds of things. And I'm very, very grateful for y'all for having me, and for you, Dora, for being here and all these questions and everything. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you for joining us. And I hope that sparks a little bit of interest for people to, you know, read the book as well. I think they'll find the storyline very engaging, and their curiosity definitely piqued. Definitely check out his social media as well, and check out the book, and get a copy for you and for your friends, so you can have a discussion about it. I think a lot of folks will get a kick out of it. But with that, I will hand the microphone back, and we will take it there for our next conversations book.
Gracias, compadre y comadre. Our second interview is with Veronica Chapa, an author, essayist, and award-winning copywriter with a master's degree in advertising from Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism. She lives in the Chicago area with her husband. Interviewing Veronica is Comadre Julia Abrantes, a lifelong lover of Latinx literature who has dedicated her time to supporting Latinx literary initiatives. She previously served as a board member of Empowering Latino Futures and was part of the leadership team of Las Comadres and Friends National Latino Book Club, where she worked as a submissions coordinator and project manager before relocating out of state. Additionally, she was a founding board member of Latinx in Publishing. She currently resides in Delray Beach, Florida. Take it away, Comadre Julia.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you so much, Veronica, for being with us this evening.
Thank you very
Um,
much for inviting me.
Yes, yes. I absolutely loved this book. What I love about reading historical fiction is that it opens up another window, right, for you to explore. So I have a bunch of questions, and I hope I can get through as many of them as we can tonight. So let's start with the spark. What first drew you to the story of Malinalli? And was there a moment where you thought, I have to write this?
Um, Listening to Fernando, he made a comment about writing being a long process. This has been a journey for about 20 years. But ever since I was a little girl, I had heard Malinalli. Malinalli was the indigenous woman, in case people don't know, who was given to Hernan Cortez as a war prize in 1519. She was about 18 years old. People believe that she may have been as young as 15. And due to her command of three indigenous languages, Cortez made her his interpreter. And growing up, I had heard her more popular name, La Malinche. And when I heard it, it was said in a way with a lot of anger. It was said with a lot of anger, and and it sounded like it made me wonder, like, God, who's that? I knew it was a woman because they said La Malinche, and what did she, what did she do? What happened? And I knew it felt like it was something really, really bad. And then eventually, when I was old enough to read Bernal Diaz del Castillo's book, True History of the Conquest of Mexico, I learned that, she was the interpreter. She was this young woman who was the interpreter for Cortez. And there's a scene in that memoir where she's standing between Cortez and Moctezuma, and she's at the center. She's like the voice of this epic confrontation. And it's it was like, I wanted to know who was she, to be so young and to have the strength and the confidence and the I saw power. I mean, I even saw like magic to coordinate that and to handle that. It's just like, where did she come from? Who was she? So yeah, so that kind of sent me like way back, in my younger years, and work and life kind of gets in the way of a lot of things. But it just stayed with me. And the more just on the fringes, I learning things, that people, she's blamed, and she's shamed for the destruction of Tenochtitlan and for the conquest and the colonization of Mexico. And for me, it's like, it's just like, well, how can a teenager be blamed, for this epic, all of this destruction, at the hands of these two men, these two power systems. You're going to blame the 18-year-old girl? So yeah, so that kind of just set me on uncovering as much as I could about her, and about that period in time. And I've traveled to Mexico many times. My grandparents were born in Mexico. My father was born in the state of Nuevo León. So it's, we take trips, and it was just it was something I had to write about. So I had to write about her specifically, and the whole idea that her life didn't begin with Cortez. So what was it like, anyway.
Yeah, so my next question was exactly that, because she's such a layered and often misunderstood figure. So when you started writing about her, what were you most interested in exploring about who she really was beyond the myths and or the history books?
I wanted to, I was looking into her humanity. I felt like history and had stripped her of her personhood. And it's like, and all we, that's come to us is, that people still continue to talk about, well, she was Cortez's whore, and she was a traitor, you know. And I'm just like, well, again, it's like her life didn't start with Cortez. And I wanted to present a woman, in full, and the more I started, thinking about her and looking at that time period and reading sociology, archaeology, anthropology books, and there's very little there. We have no words of her own. There are no journals, there are no letters, there are no there's nothing in her voice. We have Cortez, of course. He wrote 5 letters to the King of Spain, and in them he mentions her 3 times. And we have Bernal Diaz, who writes of her in his first person account, his memoir, and speaks of her highly and admits that if it wasn't for her, they would have all been killed. So yeah, I wanted to present the entire woman from birth to, we really don't know what when she died. We think she died in her 30s, but that after the fall of Tenochtitlan, yeah, I took liberties. It's definitely a work of fiction, but it's grounded in history, a lot of history. So
yeah, and you're dealing with a very pivotal and painful time in history, the Spanish conquest, colonization, and identity. So how did you emotionally and creatively, excuse me, step into that world while keeping Malinalli at the heart of it?
Obviously, she's my through line. She was always, because I started when she was born, and I ground her in, I present a whole childhood and a whole reason, a motive for her to, and she's a very curious young woman. She's a very proud young woman. She's a very forthright and energetic, and she has, in my book, she has a brother. We do think she had a brother in real life, but I made her a twin. And from the get-go, I saw her, there was always a magical component to her. And not, it took many forms, and during the development of the book, I was, even given permission to kind of like push the boundaries a little bit. But because she was so strong from the get-go in my head and on the page, I just followed her and journeyed with her. And there was a point in time where, when I was working, with the Cortez sections, where it almost seemed like Cortez was taking over the book. So yeah, and it was just like this son of a gun is trying to conquer me on the page. And it's just, I had to like it's sort of like I created like a timeline for myself for the book, and an emotional timeline along with it. So to make certain that we're always present inside of her, and seeing the world through her eyes. And, you know, when she, you know, this is a woman who goes through many transformations, and she's a sister, she's a daughter, you know, she becomes a priestess, learning at the Temple of the 18 Moons. You know, she's kidnapped, she's trafficked, she becomes a concubine. You know, she's had a life even before she meets Cortez. So with him, you know, she starts to, it's about her power, and her power in conflict with these vast, you know, systems, the Spaniards and Montezuma. Montezuma was, in my opinion, so highly, I mean, I'm immensely, profoundly, intelligent, I mean, he had been a warrior, he had a battle leader, he had been a priest, he had spies, he had informants, he had, you know, the best tech of his kind for that period in time. And then, you know, here comes Cortez with advanced tech, guns and steel and horses, which no one had ever seen before. So it's this collision, and, you know, I put her at the center of it, and she's struggling to, you know, like so many of us, we find ourselves in a situation where you think you might have some control over something.
Yeah.
You know, and I can figure this out, and I can protect people by using my voice. Yeah, I mean, and there, it's complicated, you know, she's complicated. We're all complicated. So it's, for me, it was never black and white. It was because of that, the whole, the Spaniards and, you know, what they brought. I had to deal with that. So
Yeah, and I think all of that helps to form who she was, and help to form her character. Because, you know, I saw her being formed, you know, as she was growing up, you know, through the years, as she was learning from the different people that she was learning from, and, you know, learning the other languages and everything. It was just, I heard her voice clearly at the end, you know, at the end of the novel. And it feels so relevant today, this book, with everything that we're talking about around colonialism, identity, you know, reclaiming indigenous stories. Did you feel that echo as you were writing this? I know you say it took over 20 years to complete, but, you know.
Oh, definitely. During the phases when I was like rewriting material and reworking things, again, it's like I wanted to present someone, a woman who of strength, agency. It was really important that she wasn't acted upon, that she had agency, and that she had energy and drive, and she, you know, thinking her way through complicated situations and belief systems, and trying to understand. And you know, the more I immersed myself in the Mesoamerican pantheon of gods and goddesses, I mean, that just kind of like, you know, my imagination, when you're confronted with the stories of these gods and goddesses, and their stories are as compelling as you know, the Greeks and characters, you know, Asian gods and goddesses. It was just as I leaned into like the magic, and as I leaned her magic, and I leaned into the the whole presentation of you know, of the religion and the gods and goddesses, and it's like I grew during the writing of this book. Definitely. I've had so many versions of this novel. I belong to a writing group, and, you know, and they've stuck with me. So during each version, they were there, and it's like, and there are points where I was working on something and I was seeing on TV the demonstrations going on in Mexico City with women with and marching, you know, due to all of the murders that were going on and the crimes against women. And here too, you know, women were marching for what we saw in 2016. And today it's like, you know, women are we're having our, you know, our rights are being taken away from us. Are they're attempting to silence our voices. So because we're looking at, like, as you said, all of the indigenous, you know, stories and diversity, and everything right now is on attack. And I feel that creating this helped center me in my beliefs and my Mexicanness and in my oh God, it's like she gave me back my power. So
Wow.
I get like emotional. But yeah, it was it's been an amazing experience, and it's been, you know, even when I thought I was done with it, it's not done.
Right. Well, I mean, we hear the emotion in your voice right now, and I mean, my next question was if there were any scenes that were especially emotional for you to write, and maybe moments where you had to take a step back and take a breath. And I'm sure, hearing it in your voice now, there might have been scenes as you were writing them, you know.
Yeah, when the priestess, when the midwife Tosi, the ritual scenes, there's the scene toward the end where she's Tosi is basically blessing her and helping her spirit. I mean, she's so broken down, you know, toward the end of the book, and just exhausted and at war and unsure of herself because of what's just happened, and that, you know, she doesn't, you know, there are limits to her power and what she can do, and she's just drained, and she feels like her spirit, you know, Cortez, what's happened to her, you know, her spirit has been um has left her, and it's the midwife at the end who, you know, in the blessing of her, and in you know, she returned, ah, she refers to her as, you know, my precious bracelets of gold, you know, my daughter, my, you know, my quetzal feathers. They were all, it's like the women, the people at that time, you know, children, you know, were a blessing. And this young woman who has just been, Malinalli, who has just been through like just like a hell. You know, it's the midwife who in that ritual, you know, brings her back. And I sort of based her on my grandmother. And before my grandparents when they would come to visit us in Chicago, before they returned to their home in Guadalajara, we would all gather together, entire family, my mom's family, and she would give us her blessing. And it was the only time I've ever seen grown men kneel for
Yes.
anyone outside of church, of course. And my grandmother, you know, she would give us her benediction. And you know, I thought, I knew all families didn't do this, and I knew this was really special, and I knew this had a lot of that there was you know, just this component to it, this this feeling. And I wanted to create someone who, I wanted to create rituals that kind of like recreated that feeling for me. And I know I'm not the only person, you know,
Yeah.
who's ever felt that, you know, with their, either with their grandmother or a woman like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Two other things, and then we have to go. I know there is, in doing my research, I also saw the documentary on Netflix about the musical that is in Mexico City. I wondered if you have made your way down there to see it, because I'm ready to book a flight.
Yeah. No, I've heard a little bit about it, but yeah, there's a lot of interest in her right
Yeah,
now, artistically. Yeah, and that's that's on my radar. There's an opera. The art museum in Denver, was it Denver? I think so. They just they had an art exhibit about her, like reimagining Malinche a couple of years ago. And artwork, and they had essays from archaeologists and social critics.
there's a lot out there.
Yeah,
There's a
it's
lot out there.
she's on the, yeah,
She's on the radar.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you so much for answering all these questions. I could probably talk to you for another half hour, but my time is up.
Oh.
Thank you so much for sharing this story with our readers. And for those who are listening in, if you haven't seen that documentary on Netflix, please watch it. It's very interesting, and it touches so much more on Malinalli's story. Comadre Tess?
Thank you, Julia.
Gracias.
We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our authors and their publishers, MCD Books and Atria Primer Sueño Press. The interviews were amazing and so enlightening and so special. Thank you, really. Thank you so much. Special thanks really to our incredible interviewers, Comadre Dora Maria Bru and Julia Brantes. We appreciate our audience for joining us tonight and submitting thoughtful questions. Most importantly, we want to recognize our dedicated volunteers, without whom this book club and all the associated work would not be possible. Mil gracias. Supporting Latin authors is critical to our mission. We encourage you to write reviews on platforms like Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, as these reviews significantly impact publishers and potential readers. And if you've never written one, on our website, Latino Lit, there's examples and way to do that, just to kind of help you get there. Consider purchasing books to directly support our authors. And if your local library lacks a title you're interested in, don't hesitate to request to order it. And we invite you to attend our virtual local book club meetings and bring friends along. Remember, our book club is open to men and women, Latinos and non-Latinos. All are welcome. Looking ahead, our August 2025 books are One Summer Night at the Shore by Caridad Pinedo, and Art Above Everything, One Woman's Global Exploration of the Joys and Torments of a Creative Life by Stephanie Elizondo Brist. Thank you all for your continued support of Las Comadres and Friends National Latino Book Club. Please join us in celebrating our Comadres and Friends National Latino Book Club by buying books and supporting Latino authors. Let's applaud and amplify diverse literary voices throughout the year. Good night, and as always, read Latino Lit.